What is going on, folks? I on my microphone review channel, it's Obscure Mic People. Here, I guess it's just folks. Anyways, I'm back with some more barking about music, and I've got a good one today. Hey, if you want to suggest albums that maybe I haven't heard, maybe suggest in the comments. I tend at the beginning of this journey to do things that I'm familiar with, like today's Jack White, Fear of the Dawn. I'm familiar with Jack White, was a White Stripes fan. It's just one of those things. I know who Jack White is, obviously. So if you have any suggestions, drop them. But until then, I'm going to do stuff I'm familiar with, except for Denzel Curry. That was a bit off the beaten path. The Yellow Wolf and Shooter Jennings album, a little bit off the beaten path. Stabbing Westward a little bit. Never mind. I'm doing fine, but suggest those albums. I bumped the phone. I bumped the table. Quit hitting the table. So doing Jack White's Fear of the Dawn today, and I got to say, I was super pumped about this album because when Taking Me Back came out as a single, I was blown away. I had never really heard anything like that, and it was just a insanely cool wall of experimental sound. And it got me really pumped up for this album. Super pumped. But every single that came out after that was less than Taking Me Back. So I was a little worried. I didn't post one of those I'm worried about the Jack White albums because I wasn't. The songs that came out after Taking Me Back were still solid. They just weren't taking me back. That's okay, though. If only they'd have saved that single for later in the cycle, that would have, maybe I wouldn't have had doubts at all. But let's start this album review. I was a big White Stripes fan, to be clear. I like the White Stripes more than Jack White's solo stuff up until this point. So this is kind of like, what's going to happen here? Am I still a more White Stripes, or is Jack White going to take over? Like which era is the best? Let's get to it. Track 1, Taking Me Back, scored it a 5. Never heard anything quite like this. I love it. The guitar solo at the very end, just incredible. Even the keyboard, simple stuff here, but even the keyboard toggle where it's just such a cool jam, and it rocks. It's meant to be played loud. Good stuff. It's a 5, which means I can't live without it. I'd take it to space with me. I'd take it into a cave with me if someone was bouldering me in, which a lot of you wish you could do. I would take this song with me, along with some Beatles and some Tool and, some all kinds of stuff. But this is up there with those things. I love this song. Track 2, Fear of the Dawn. It's a 4.5. This sounds familiar in a way, like the riffage. I dig it, but it does sound a tad bit familiar. If you have the same thought and think it sounds like something else, let me know. But I thought it sounded familiar. It's got that fuzzy guitar, got some White Stripes throwback vocals, in my opinion. And the transition from Taking Me Back into this, which there is none. It's just like end of song, start of song, almost like one whole song. Brutally beautiful. It is great. I love it. I love when there's no gap and it just keeps going. Great song. Track 3, The White Raven, gave it a 3.5. Solid song, but it just came after a barrage of sound on 2 tracks. And while The White Raven is heavy in its own right, it has like just a way different song structure. I thought I heard some Tool here for a second, like the bass line, for just a split second, but then of course that went away. But there's just a lot of cool sounds here. The White Raven, still a great track, 3.5, not a damn thing wrong with that, but the 2 tracks ahead of it just simply overshadowed it. That's just all it was. It got overshadowed by 2 bangers to start this album with. Heidi Ho, track 4. I did not love this after hearing it after Taking Me Back. It was just a little too weird for me, but with a week and a half of listening, Heidi Ho is a 4.5. I was so unsure about this, but man, it grew on me in ways I never thought possible. I actually love this song. It's probably top 3 or 4 on the album for me. Q-Tip is fantastic on this. Jack White knows how to pick spots to have guests come on to some of his albums, and this was one of those great choices. I'm sure some people might still be annoyed by this song, but man, I love it now. It's a great song. It's crazy. So many cool sounds. You put on headphones and there's so many intricacies to pick out. Tempo changes, just a wild, wild song. This album is kicking on all cylinders so far. Track 5, Eosophobia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I gave it a 3. Pretty good, but I feel like I've heard that distorted riff a million times. And outside of that riff, it is very trippy and very cool. But what a greatly weird freaking album to this point. This is not like one of the stronger songs. It's obviously getting a little slower, kind of peaks and valleys, which I also like. I don't need it to just blast me away the whole time. It's not Cannibal Corpse, it's Jack White. So this song was good, just not, still following some heavy hitters. Then we go on to 6, Into the Twilight. I gave this a 3.5. I dig this as kind of an album intermission. Like, I feel like Esophobia led us to this point. We kind of have a samey riff on this one too, but it works better because of the layers with it. The guitar is sort of a complement to the rest of it. But man, just peaks and valleys. This really got me kind of chilled out and a little bit calmer after that barrage at the beginning. And track 7, which is Dusk, I'm just going to count this as part of track 6. It was just kind of some ambience to go along with it. I didn't score it, and I subtracted it from the number total of songs with the scores. To me, 6 and 7 go hand in hand, like Tool and an interlude go hand in hand. So still cool, bringing me down. Track 6 and 7 right in the middle, bringing me back down. And then we're going to jump back up a little bit with track 8, What's the Trick? That was a single. I didn't give it many listens before listening to the whole album, but it was good. But Taking Me Back is still like, ugh, that's one of those jams, taking its space with me. What's the Trick? 3.5. Back to that experimental goodness on this album. And at this point, I'm going to say this is Jack White's best solo work. And that is saying a lot because the solo albums are good. But to me, this is his best solo work. And it is. Ooh, God, that's a hard statement. Right now, the White Stripes and Jack White are neck and neck for me. Like, this album has done that much for me so far, and we're not even done. Let me know who you like. Let me know, White Stripes or Jack White. I'm sure it's mostly White Stripes, but sometimes you have to move forward. And Jack White's moving forward in a big way while also stepping back just a little bit. Track 9, that was Then, This Is Now. I gave it a 4, and I said stepping back a little bit because I feel like this is paying homage to the White Stripes. This song is so stripey. They even have an electronic organ in there. It sounds like a White Stripes sample. I think it might be a White Stripes sample. And those are some Meg Whitish drums. If I've ever heard Meg Whitish drums without Meg White playing Meg Whitish drums, fantastic stuff. It's like a throwback. I feel like Jack White's really given a bit of props to the old stuff. And I feel like that's taken him a while to come around to, because you're trying to break away from a band and become your own thing. And then you're like, you know what? I'm going to take everything I learned and I'm going to make an album that we'll get there. An album that could pause that thought. Little something going on here too that's weird. 125 mark in the song, the 1 minute 25 second mark on That Was Then, This Is Now. Got a switch up and some garage fuzz guitar, really good stuff. I only note that because on Esophobia track 10 Reprise, I gave it a 3.5. To me, it's as good as the first Esophobia. It's very similar, of course, but another change up at 1 minute and 25 seconds. I don't know if there's some mathematics going on here, a hidden thing. Maybe it's hard to tell with Jack White. He's a pretty intense dude. There could be something more to it. I'm probably overanalyzing, but 2 tracks in a row with a switch up and change up in tempo at the 1 minute, 25 second mark. I just found that to be cool. Just something I noticed. But Jack White, this by the time this song comes and goes, I realize Jack White's one of my favorite guitar players ever. It was just a realization. Like, I love the personality that comes through on the way he plays guitar. Yeah, he's skilled too, but like Adam Jones, who can who can do some chugging that makes you feel like you're in space, even though it's an open riff with a open and close. Jack White can do that same thing with simplicity or technological playing. He can just make you feel a certain way. You feel his personality, and I that's my favorite kind of guitar player. Not a Yngwie Malmsteen, not an Eddie Van Halen, even though Van Halen, different story. I just don't like Van Halen, but his personality was in his playing for sure. Sure, Yngwie's is too, but I just there's a certain level of like someone's spirit coming through when they play guitar. Jack White has got that. Love it. Track 11, Morning, Noon, and Night. I gave this a 4. This feels like a 60s jam to me, which is perfectly fine. I love the 60s. There's some Tron-like keyboard in there, like Tron, the Disney movie Tron. Just some really cool sounds. It's a very proggy jam that comes at the right time. Like this album is just a garden of sound. I didn't mean to do that, Soundgarden. But it kind of is, it's we need a better, it's a greenhouse of sound. It is a greenhouse of sound, and this proggy jam to end it was just kind of perfect for me. It's just a perfect almost ending, because then we got Shedding My Velvet, track 12, The Ender. This was a 4 to me. The little sounds just stood out to me in my headphones. I thought of the Black Keys a little bit when this one was on, but again, tempo changes, peaks and valleys. It wasn't just a song that sounded like one thing. It's a nice balance of distortion and fuzz, clean, loud, soft, everything in between. This is that soft ender that will just kind of bring you back down from the experience. And then if you got it on repeat, you're getting amped right back up with Taking Me Back as soon as it ends. But, this album, top to bottom, peaks and valleys, not many albums are just a 5 on every song all the way through. That's a lot to ask. But this album as a whole is a 4 out of 5 for me, which I think is a fantastic score. Just because of the sheer coolness, just the experimentation that goes into it. This is the new Jack White we're hearing right here. Like a very accepting of technology, accepting of like being middle-aged, but still being able to rock ass. This is good stuff, man. This is a triumph to me. And we're getting another album in July on the 22nd, Entering Heaven Alive. If it can outdo this, I don't know what to say, because to me this is an album of the year. That's where I was pausing. Album of the year candidate. As far as rock goes, this and Ghost Impera right there for me. Rock albums of the year, overall albums of the year so far that I've heard. Again, suggest albums you think are up there in that conversation. But Jack White just murdered it. He murdered this whole damn album. It's fucking incredible. It's an incredible album. And I have seen mostly the response is somewhat similar to mine, but there are a lot of folks that really prefer, his 2 previous solo albums to this style. But man, as a White Stripes fan first, this is like the perfect blend of his solo career and picking up some pieces from the White Stripes, and I was here for it. I was here for it. I love this album. I've jammed it a ton even after finishing the review. What a great album. I love this thing. Drop some more in the suggestions. I kind of tend to stick with genres and bands and styles that I know, but I am very open to listening to more, as long as you're not going to say go back to Kid Rock's other album and then I'm going to say I can't do it. I just can't do it, because we the people refuse. Jack White, Fear of the Dawn, great album. One of the best I've heard in a long time. Let me know how you feel about it. Let me know what else I should be listening to. And I'll see you guys next time on Barkin' About Music. Thanks for watching yet again. And stick around, check out the final screen to see what else I do here on the Tube of You. See you guys next time.